Imagine being told, after more than 20 years, living in a 30-room mansion that has been your sanctuary, that you have until Easter to pack up and leave. No drama-free downsizing, no careful negotiations, just a deadline that turns a lifetime of status and routine into a ticking clock. That's the reality facing Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. As reports suggest, King Charles III is quietly tightening the reins on the family's property portfolio and signaling a new era of financial discipline at the heart of the monarchy. Today, we're unpacking what's happening, why it matters, and what could come next, from a move to the Norfolk countryside to a dramatic exit to the Gulf. If you like deep dives into royal drama and what it means for the future of the crown, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss future updates. Royal Lodge is not just a very large house. It's history in bricks and mortar, Grade 2 listed residence in Windsor Great Park. It served as the Queen Mother's beloved retreat for decades and became Andrew's home in 2004. For a man born into privilege, it's more than accommodation. It's identity, continuity, and status. The idea that he may need to leave that behind by Easter is about much more than square footage. It's about shifting values at the top of the institution that has been handed down for 1,000 years. So why now? At its simplest, the move looks driven by two things: optics and cost. Charles III has repeatedly signaled that the monarchy must look modern and efficient to justify public support. Maintaining a 30-room mansion, especially for someone who is no longer a working royal and whose name still generates negative headlines, it's an expense that sits uneasily with that message. Security, upkeep, repairs, the bill for Royal Lodge adds up quickly. If the sovereign withdraws the private allowance that has helped cover maintenance and security, the estate becomes a heavy financial burden for Andrew alone. The palace's proposed alternative, according to the latest reporting, would be Marsh Farm on the Sandringham estate, a modest farmhouse by comparison. Sandringham is the king's private property, which gives him more control over who lives there. On paper, it seems a reasonable compromise. Still family land, still under royal protection, but far smaller and less costly. For Andrew, though, this is more than a logistical change. It reads like a demotion, a visible, physical symbol that he's been moved out of the center and into the margins. Royal insiders don't expect him to go quietly. Robert Jobson, a respected royal biographer, has suggested that Andrew might prefer exile to a perceived punishment at Sandringham. Jobson pointed to recent diplomatic contacts, such as meetings between Charles and Gulf leaders, as hints that the Middle East remains a possible refuge. The Gulf states have long been a zone where royal status carries clout, and Andrew has historic ties there from his days as a trade envoy. Places like Bahrain or the UAE, table manners around scandal are different. The focus is often more on access and influence than on tabloid headlines. Jobson drew a parallel to Spain's Juan Carlos, former monarch who lived in self-imposed exile in Abu Dhabi after controversies at home. It's not a perfect match, but it shows a pathway. Step away from the glare. Let the institution heal. Andrew Looney, another royal biographer, paints a similar emotional picture. He argues the Duke doesn't want to be tucked away on a windswept Sandringham farm. He wants escape without humiliation. Somewhere he can be private but still feel important. Tiny farmhouse, however comfortable, might feel like punishment. To someone who spent his life at the center of ceremonial and social life, there are legal and financial complications too. Unlike some residences that are occupied at the monarch's pleasure, Andrew's arrangement at Royal Lodge is a long-term lease. That gives him legal leverage other family members don't have. It also brings responsibilities. Tenants have to maintain listed properties, and the costs for a historic estate with decades of wear and tear are enormous. Roof repairs, damp prevention, restoration work. These aren't cheap repairs. If the king stops funding them, the math becomes harder for Andrew. With fewer public duties and limited access to sovereign grant support, keeping up a 30-room mansion becomes questionable. This is where the optics meet strategy. By relocating his brother, Charles signals that being close to the crown comes with responsibilities and public value.
Oh.
It's a modernization play as much as it is a household budgeting decision. Smaller staff, smaller security footprint, less public expense. It tells the public the royals are conscious of fairness and the need to adapt to contemporary expectations about privilege, but there are human consequences. Think about Andrew's daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. Both have carved out private lives and careers while maintaining family ties. A move to the Middle East would introduce geographic separation and complex logistics for family life. And even the Sandringham option, though closer, is remote. For a man who has long lived in the public eye, from his naval career 2 decades, of high-profile engagements, isolation on a Norfolk farm could feel like a slow form of exile. Then there's the global dimension. The British royal family is an instrument of soft power. Senior royal living in the Gulf could be both asset and liability. If Andrew engaged in business or unofficial diplomacy, it could complicate relations and produce headaches for the foreign office. On the flip side, a truly private, quiet life abroad could let public anger cool and allow the monarchy to close a contentious chapter at home. Consider the symbolism of the timing. Easter is a season of renewal in the Christian calendar, and one of the few times the family traditionally assembles at Windsor for services. Setting a deadline for Andrew to leave before Easter would be a deliberate decision. Clear the old scenes before the family steps into the public rituals of spring and summer. It's not just logistics, it's messaging. And what about precedent? Juan Carlos's exile was an extreme example of how royal scandals can be managed by distance. If Andrew chose a similar path, it would be unprecedented in modern British royal history, a senior member voluntarily leaving the country to live abroad as a solution to domestic unmanageability. That would mark a new chapter in how the crown handles fallen figures. Out of sight, out of the immediate public story. But will he go? Predicting personal choices is risky. Andrew has shown stubbornness and a desire to hold on to what he sees as his rightful place. He once resisted offers to move to smaller quarters like Frogmore Cottage and fought to keep his lease. At 64, he's not exactly elderly. He has time to rebuild a life elsewhere. The Gulf could offer luxury and recognition, but it would also carry the optics of running away and could be seen by some as evasion rather than reconciliation. From King Charles's perspective, it's a long game. He's building a legacy of a smaller, more focused monarchy, one where public value is demonstrable and resources are tightly managed. Taking a firm stand with his own brother sends a signal up and down the institution. The monarchy's future comes before individual privilege. So what should we watch for in the coming weeks? Expect carefully placed leaks, counter-narratives, and legal posturing. Andrew's team will likely highlight the lease and his rights. The palace will emphasize modernization and stewardship. The story will be framed as both a family dispute and a public policy decision. Now, I want to hear from you. Is King Charles being pragmatic or harsh? Should heirs and spares be guaranteed homes for life, or are they responsible for supporting themselves once they step away from official duties? Would you accept a high-profile exile as a solution, or would a quiet Norfolk life be the more honorable path? If you enjoyed this breakdown, please like the video, share it with a friend who follows royal news, and leave your thoughts in the comments. We read every one. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the House of Windsor and the decisions shaping its future. Thanks for watching. I'm your channel name, and I'll see you in the next video.